Across the United States, youth poverty currently impacts an astounding 16 million minors nationwide.
To us, it's just how we live. You don't get to make choices in how you live.
Roughly 1 out of 12 adults lacks employment, leaving countless youths maturing without clear prospects for future careers.
But I don't think there's a job out there for me yet.
Charitable pantries alongside community refuges currently experience massive surges because formerly stable households frequently suffer sudden, unexpected residential evictions. We asked 3 children what life in modern America really looks like, through their eyes.
My name is Kaylee Hagwood, and I live in Stockton, Iowa. I think we're kind of a poor family.
She actively recognizes her household's severe financial distress.
Sorry, sis.
Stop pouring.
I'm sorry.
How do you think you have customers?
Barbara, her dedicated mother, previously held industrial positions before being laid off nearly 9 months beforehand. Having encountered immense difficulties securing replacement work, Barbara bravely chose to pursue cosmetology training. However, Kaylee humorously expresses extreme hesitation about receiving haircuts from her. Kaylee's never met her father. Fortunately, a local grandmother consistently provides whatever modest assistance possible. Otherwise, this vulnerable trio barely survives using only $320 weekly from jobless compensations, supplemented by government nutritional vouchers.
I'm hungry.
Whenever Kaylee complains about feeling famished, she must patiently endure delays. Tragically, they cannot afford standard meal routines.
We don't get the 3 meals a day. When I feel just hungry.
Although Iowa remains a prominent global agricultural hub, this fertile region offers absolutely no plenty for young Kaylee. Requiring every single possible penny, she and her companion frequently wander alongside hazardous railroad tracks to carefully collect discarded aluminum cans.
We like to go canning to make money.
Numerous individuals carelessly toss their used beverages outdoors.
The non-squished ones are 5 cents.
Over 60,000 bankruptcies were declared in Iowa last year alone.
We can't afford to pay our bills, like our house bills and stuff. I'm afraid we'll get homeless.
She experiences profound anxiety regarding potential residential displacement. This exact displacement she dreads constitutes a harsh actuality for roughly 1.5 million juveniles throughout the United States.
My name is Jasmine.
My name is Johnny Davis.
These youths currently inhabit a Davenport Salvation Army sanctuary intended for displaced households living there continuously for the past 3 full months.
Eat now. I'm hungry.
I know, so am I.
Get me something. My mom is having a hard time on economy. She has very little in her bank. And she can't pay all of her bills at the same time.
Mounting household debts simply remain excessively overwhelming for this struggling parent to manage alone. She previously never witnessed such depression. Securing steady employment remains exceptionally challenging. Presently, over 49 million citizens exist beneath the recognized national poverty threshold, predominantly because of widespread jobless conditions. Right now, in the wealthiest nation in human history, 14.1 million children are waking up in homes that cannot afford enough food. We are taught that American poverty is an anomaly, a temporary setback cured by hard work. But the math tells a darker, systemic story. Today, 54% of children in our nation's capital live in households unable to afford the basic cost of living despite their parents working full-time. This isn't a glitch in the American economy, it is a feature. And the most devastating collateral damage is happening entirely behind closed doors. To grasp the true magnitude of this crisis, one must look past the manicured lawns of suburban developments and confront a number that defies standard economic logic. Official baseline data reveals that between 14.3% and 15.5% of all American children, more than 10.4 million young human beings, live entirely below the federal poverty line. To comprehend the sheer scale of this displacement, if you gathered every single one of these impoverished children into a single geographic territory, their combined population would surpass that of entire global megacities like London, Tokyo, or New York City. This is a massive, invisible metropolis of deprivation, hidden in plain sight, sanitized by the vast sprawl of standard strip malls and commuter highways. The American landscape is structurally designed to isolate the affluent from the vulnerable, allowing society to treat poverty as a localized anomaly rather than a profound, systemic failure that spans the entire republic. The greatest weapon used to sustain this reality is the pervasive cultural myth of the lazy poor, the idea that poverty is simply the natural consequence of a lack of personal effort. This narrative completely collapses when confronted with the reality of the working poor. Millions of parents across the United States are working 40, 50, or even 60 hours a week at multiple jobs, yet they remain utterly trapped. This systemic failure is illuminated by a metric known as ALICE, which stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. These are families who work every single day but cannot make ends meet because the official federal poverty line, set at roughly $31,812 for a family of 4, is absurdly detached from modern inflation, soaring rents, and standard utility costs. In affluent regions like the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia, an astonishing 54% of children live in households below this ALICE threshold. These families earn too much to qualify for vital government assistance programs, yet far too little to survive, existing in a permanent state of financial quicksand where a single minor emergency means absolute ruin. This systemic failure manifests most cruelly not in bank ledgers, but in the daily, quiet desperation of hunger, exposing a profound paradox at the heart of the American empire. The United States produces far more food than its population could ever consume, yet according to devastating United States Department of Agriculture data, 47.9 million Americans currently live in food-insecure households. For a child, this hunger rarely looks like the extreme, hollow-cheeked starvation seen in international famine zones. Instead, it looks like chronic anxiety, skipped meals, and a forced reliance on cheap, nutrient-dead calories. Most terrifyingly, there are at least 751,000 children in America experiencing very low food security. This is the clinical bureaucratic term for a child who goes to bed with an empty stomach because the kitchen cabinets are completely bare and the money simply ran out. It is a quiet agony borne by children who learn to ignore the gnawing ache in their bellies while trying to focus on their education under the flickering lights of a rented room. While poverty affects families of every configuration, the economic architecture of modern America inflicts a particularly violent structural punishment on single mothers. The system operates under the assumption of a dual-income household, effectively enforcing a devastating financial penalty on single parenthood. Without access to subsidized childcare, which now rivals the cost of university tuition in many states, and lacking any federal mandate for paid family leave, single mothers are systematically pushed to the margins of the workforce. The math here is stark and unyielding. While the poverty rate for children raised in married couple families sits at a relatively low 6.8%, that figure explodes to a catastrophic 37.1% for children living in female householder families. When structural barriers intersect with race, the crisis intensifies even further, with over 41% of Black and Hispanic single-mother households forced to raise their children in absolute destitution, transforming the biological act of motherhood into an immediate economic trap. To travel across the American landscape is to realize that the nation is deeply fractured into two entirely separate economic realities. On the coasts, booming tech economies and financial centers generate trillions of dollars in paper wealth, but deep in the American South and across isolated rural communities, a completely different America exists. These are the regions where heavy industry, manufacturing, and agriculture vanished decades ago, leaving behind vast economic deserts completely severed from the modern stream of capital. The regional disparities are jaw-dropping. Recent economic data shows that child poverty has become deeply entrenched along specific state lines, with Mississippi leading the nation at a heartbreaking 26.3% child poverty rate, closely followed by Louisiana at 25.7% and New Mexico at 24.5%. In these states, more than 1 out of every 4 children begins their life at a severe developmental and financial disadvantage, trapped in geographic zones where opportunity is a foreign concept. This geographic inequality is not accidental. It is the direct legacy of a historical lottery where a child's zip code and race heavily dictate their life expectancy and economic mobility. The long, dark shadows of historical redlining, discriminatory housing covenants, and generational wealth gaps continue to determine who thrives and who drowns. The racial divide in child poverty remains one of the most damning indictments of the American system. While white children face a supplemental poverty rate of 8.7%, Native American children face a rate of 19.8%, while Black and Hispanic children suffer at near identical, crushing rates of 20.7% and 20.3% respectively. This systemic bias filters down into the most basic necessities of life, leaving a Black household more than twice as likely to experience severe chronic food insecurity at 24.4% compared to a white household at 10.1%. A child's racial background remains a powerful predictor of whether they will have access to clean water, safe neighborhoods, and well-funded schools. For families trapped at the bottom of the economic ladder, health is not merely a biological state, it is a precarious financial asset. The American medical system creates an inescapable catch-22 where poverty breeds chronic illness, and chronic illness guarantees permanent poverty. When a parent or a child suffers from a severe disability or a long-term medical condition, the family's ability to maintain steady employment is frequently severed, while medical bills simultaneously accumulate. People living with disabilities in the United States face a brutal poverty rate of 22.5%. For the millions of impoverished Americans lacking adequate health insurance, the cost of insulin, asthma inhalers, or basic mental health care becomes a catastrophic burden. Parents are routinely forced into horrific, impossible calculations, choosing between purchasing life-saving medication for a sick child or paying the landlord to avoid an immediate eviction notice that would throw the entire family onto the street. What makes the current trajectory of American child poverty so deeply infuriating is the fact that the nation possesses the exact blueprint required to solve it, yet consciously chose to abandon it. During the global pandemic, the federal government initiated a massive, unprecedented expansion of the social safety net, providing a vivid proof of concept that child poverty is a policy choice. By expanding the child tax credit and increasing funding for federal nutrition programs like SNAP and WIC, the government successfully lifted 3.4 million people out of poverty in a single year, including 1.3 million children, cutting child poverty to its lowest level in recorded history. But this triumph was short-lived. As soon as the emergency subsided, lawmakers allowed these expanded tax credits and nutrition benefits to expire, deliberately driving millions of families off a steep policy cliff. The response from the economy was immediate and devastating, as poverty and food insecurity spiked violently back up to 13.7% of households, proving that the suffering of these children is not an inevitable natural disaster, but the direct result of political calculation.